You ever meet someone who looked perfectly healthy on the outside, but one day out of nowhere their body just gave up on them? That was Frank. Frank was a former high school coach from Missouri, mid-60s, big heart, loud laugh, and always the first one to show up for church picnics. He never drank, never smoked, ate what he thought was a healthy diet, took the same pain pills every morning for his knees, drank protein shakes because someone at the gym told him to, and figured all that water he drank every day was doing him good. But then, one summer morning, he fainted in his backyard while pulling weeds. By nightfall, he was in a hospital bed, hooked up to machines, his kidneys barely hanging on. And the worst part? It wasn't from some big disease or trauma. It was from the little things he did every day, thinking they were harmless. That's when it hit me. Most people don't need to fear one catastrophic health crisis. What they need to watch out for are the habits they repeat every single day without thinking. Those are the ones that silently wear your organs down until one day, bam, you're in Frank's shoes. Hi, I'm Dr. Evelyn McKenna. I've been a practicing nephrologist for over 35 years, and what I'm about to tell you comes from decades of watching everyday folks just like you and me walk into my clinic not knowing they've been slowly poisoning their kidneys. Not with alcohol or illegal drugs, but with over-the-counter pills, too much protein, and even good intentions like drinking lots of water. So let me ask you this. Do you reach for ibuprofen every time your back aches? Have you ever gone a whole day forgetting to drink water? Or maybe you're working out hard, eating protein bars and downing shakes, thinking you're doing everything right. If any of that sounds familiar, you need to keep listening, because I'm going to walk you through 7 everyday habits that might be quietly sabotaging your kidneys. I've seen too many good people, kind people who had no clue they were doing anything wrong, end up tethered to a dialysis machine 3 times a week. And I don't want that for you. That's why this episode isn't about fear. It's about awareness, clarity, and giving you back the power to make better choices without turning your whole life upside down. You see, your kidneys aren't just water filters. They help control your blood pressure, keep your bones strong, balance your body's electrolytes, and even help your body make red blood cells. They're quiet, they're hardworking, and they almost never complain until it's too late. That's what makes kidney damage so tricky. It creeps up, it hides, and unless you know what to watch for, you won't see it coming. Frank didn't. He thought he was doing everything right. So did Carla, a retired nurse from Tennessee who lived on what she called her anti-inflammatory routine. Every morning, a few Advils, lots of green juice, a high-protein breakfast bar. It kept her going, she said, until her lab results told a different story. Now, I'm not here to judge your habits. I'm here to walk with you, to share what I've seen, and more importantly, to give you better tools. Each of the habits I'm going to talk about in this series has a backstory, a patient, a lesson I'll never forget. And I want you to think of these not as warnings, but as windows. Windows into your own routines, and where you might make one small change that keeps your kidneys strong for years to come. So grab yourself a cup of tea, get comfortable, and give me just a few minutes of your time. Because if you stay with me, you're going to learn how to protect the very organs that rarely ask for your attention, but give you everything in return. Before we go any further, here's your first bit of homework. Think about your day today. Did you take any painkillers? Did you forget to drink water? Did your dinner come from a freezer box labeled plant-based? These small choices, repeated often enough, might be costing you more than you realize. Frank's story ended on dialysis. Carla got lucky she changed her habits just in time. You still have a choice, and that's what this series is really about. Not fear, not guilt, just a better path forward, together. Now, are you ready for the first hidden habit that might be hurting your kidneys? I remember the first time I met Barbara. She came into my office wearing a soft blue sweater, her hands shaking just a little as she fumbled through a list of medications she'd been taking. She was in her early 70s, retired from 30 years of teaching, and still full of that kind of warmth only lifelong educators carry. But underneath her smile, Barbara was tired, bone tired. Her eyes gave it away, long before her blood work did. She looked at me and said, "Doc, I don't get it. I eat my greens, I walk every day, I drink water, but lately, I feel like my body's turning on me." So I asked her to tell me about her daily routine. And sure enough, there it was. Every morning, right after breakfast, 2 over-the-counter pain pills, usually ibuprofen. Sometimes naproxen if the pain in her hips flared up. If her arthritis was especially bad that day, she'd toss in an extra dose by lunch. It had become so routine, she didn't even consider them medication anymore. Just something to help her function. Now, let me tell you what those pills were doing to Barbara's kidneys. You see, drugs like ibuprofen, naproxen, and other NSAIDs, they're powerful, no doubt about that. They bring inflammation down, ease pain, help people get through their day. But they also shrink the blood vessels that feed your kidneys. They reduce the oxygen those organs so desperately need. And when you do that, day after day, year after year, especially in your 60s or 70s, when the body's already more vulnerable, it's like slowly cutting off the air supply to one of your most vital organs. Barbara didn't know that. And why would she? No one told her. Pain relief came in a friendly little bottle at the drugstore. No prescription needed. No red flag warnings unless you read the fine print. I wish I could tell you her story was unique. But the truth is, I've seen hundreds of Barbaras over the years. Good people. Smart people. People who never imagined that the very thing helping them get through the day could be the same thing pushing them toward dialysis. Now here's the twist. If your kidneys are completely healthy and you only take these medications occasionally, in the right dose, with plenty of hydration and your doctor's blessing, you'll probably be just fine. The problem is, most folks don't stop there. They take more than they realize. Or they take them when their kidneys are already under stress from high blood pressure, diabetes, or dehydration. That's when things start to unravel. Barbara had early signs of kidney stress in her labs, but we caught it just in time. We swapped her pain meds for acetaminophen, started her on gentle stretching routines, and even tried acupuncture, which, much to her surprise, she ended up loving. Within 3 months, her numbers began to stabilize. Not reverse, mind you. Kidney damage doesn't work that way. But we stopped it from getting worse. And sometimes, that's the most powerful win we can get. If you're listening to this and thinking, "Wait, I take those pills too," I'm not here to scare you. I'm here to invite you to pause, to ask questions, to look at the habits you might have picked up out of convenience or comfort, and to consider if there's a gentler way forward. Pain is real. Arthritis is real. But there are options. Physical therapy, hot or cold compresses, mindfulness exercises, even certain herbal teas with anti-inflammatory properties. And none of these will cost your kidneys their lifeline. Barbara still sends me holiday cards. Last one had a photo of her gardening with her granddaughter, wearing a floppy sun hat and grinning like a teenager. She still has some pain, sure, but she also has her kidneys, and her independence, and her joy. So let me ask you, what's one small change you could make today to take some pressure off your kidneys? Maybe it's checking the label on your pain meds. Maybe it's calling your doctor to ask if they're still safe for you. Or maybe it's something as simple as switching to a heating pad instead of popping another pill. Whatever it is, make the choice now before your body forces you to. Because like I told Barbara that day, pain might make you feel older, but protecting your kidneys? That's how you stay strong enough to keep doing what you love. I'll never forget what happened to Marcus. He was 58, worked in construction most of his life, and looked like he could still carry a 2x4 in each arm without breaking a sweat. The guy was built like a linebacker, with a handshake that could crack walnuts. But when he came into the ER that day, he was barely able to speak. His lips were dry, his blood pressure dangerously low, and his kidneys? They were on the verge of shutting down. You'd never guess what did it. Not drugs, not alcohol, not even medication. Just water, or rather, the lack of it. Marcus had been helping his nephew renovate a house in Phoenix during a summer heat wave. Days of sweat, sun, and skipping water breaks so he could just finish one more job. He wasn't a fan of stopping. He said drinking too much water made him feel bloated, so he didn't. By the time he felt dizzy, it was already too late. When your body doesn't get enough water, it can't deliver blood properly to your organs. And the kidneys, those two silent workers in your lower back, rely on a constant, healthy flow to do their job. Without it, they dry up literally. Cells begin to suffer, toxins build up, and before long, the whole system gets clogged. That's what we call pre-renal azotemia, fancy name. But what it really means is this: your kidneys are suffocating from the inside out. Marcus didn't even realize he'd been harming himself. He thought sweating it out meant staying tough, that real men push through the thirst. But the truth is, dehydration isn't just about being thirsty. It's about starving your organs of the very fuel they need to survive. And here's the kicker: Marcus wasn't the only one. Not long before that, I treated a woman named Darlene, a retired accountant in her late 60s who developed severe headaches and confusion after starting a new hydration challenge she saw online. She had committed to drinking over a gallon of water a day. More water, more health, right? Wrong. Her sodium levels dropped so low her brain began to swell. She had what we call hyponatremia. She almost didn't make it. See, while dehydration is dangerous, drinking too much water more than your kidneys can process can be just as deadly. It dilutes the blood, messes with your electrolytes, and in extreme cases causes cerebral edema, swelling of the brain. The lesson here is balance. Not too little, not too much. So what's the sweet spot? Most adults do well with about 2 to 3 liters of water a day. That's around 6 to 8 cups. But it's not a one-size-fits-all rule. If you're older, have heart conditions, or take medications that affect fluid retention, your needs may be different. That's why it's so important to talk to your doctor. And don't just rely on thirst. Let your body talk to you in other ways. If your urine is dark, like apple juice, you're probably dehydrated. If it's nearly clear and you're running to the bathroom every hour, maybe slow down. There are other ways to stay hydrated, too: eating water-rich fruits like watermelon or cucumbers, sipping on herbal teas, keeping a bottle nearby, and taking small sips throughout the day. Marcus made it through, barely. He was on dialysis for a few weeks before his kidneys stabilized. It scared him straight, as he put it. Now he keeps a jug of water in his truck and checks his pee color like it's a mood ring. Darlene recovered too. She learned to stop chasing trends and start listening to her own body. Her doctor helped her build a hydration plan that worked for her, not for some internet influencer half her age. So, if you're the kind of person who forgets to drink water until dinner, or if you've been guzzling bottle after bottle thinking more is better, let me ask you this: what's your kidneys' daily rhythm really like? Your kidneys are amazing, but they're not magic. They can't protect you from extremes forever. Whether it's drought or flood, they can only take so much. So let's not wait for a hospital scare to remind us. Let's choose balance now. Because staying hydrated isn't just about drinking, it's about respecting the limits of the body that carries us every day. His name was Walter. A quiet man from northern Georgia, 71 years old, tall, always wore a button-down shirt no matter the weather. When he sat down across from me that first time, he looked healthy enough. Strong handshake, steady gaze. But when I looked at his chart, my heart sank a little. His blood pressure was out of control. And the worst part? He didn't even know. I asked him, "Has anyone ever told you your numbers were this high?" He nodded slowly. Oh, sure. The nurse at the pharmacy mentioned it a few months back. My daughter's on me about it too. But I feel fine. Always have. Besides, high blood pressure runs in my family. We're used to it. Used to it. Those words still echo in my mind. Because that's what makes hypertension so dangerous. It's quiet. It's invisible. It doesn't throb or ache or make your skin break out in a rash. It just slowly, silently damages the blood vessels feeding your brain, your heart, and yes, your kidneys. When your blood pressure is too high for too long, the tiny vessels in your kidneys begin to stiffen and narrow. Imagine watering a garden with a hose that's pinched halfway closed. Over time, less water gets through, the flowers wilt, and the soil cracks. That's what's happening inside your body. And unless you open the hose, unless you relieve that pressure, those kidneys will eventually fail. For Walter, it had already begun. His blood tests showed early signs of what we call hypertensive nephrosclerosis, a fancy term that just means his kidneys were tired, worn down. Not yet broken, but getting there. I looked him in the eyes and said, Walter, I know you feel fine now, but if we don't take this seriously, you'll be feeling a lot worse in a matter of months. And then I told him something I tell every patient in his shoes. Just because it runs in your family doesn't mean it has to run through you. Yes, maybe your father had high blood pressure. Maybe your mother too. But that doesn't make it your fate. It makes it your responsibility to break the cycle. Walter listened. He really did. We started by making small changes. He bought a home blood pressure monitor, the kind with a big screen and easy buttons. He cut back on the salt, started walking more, and finally agreed to try medication, even though he was hesitant at first. Within 6 weeks, his numbers came down. Not perfect, not overnight, but down. And more importantly, he felt empowered, like he had a hand on the wheel again. Too often, people treat blood pressure like background noise, something to glance at during a checkup, then ignore. But I've watched that noise become a siren. I've seen it land people in emergency rooms on dialysis, even in hospice simply because they assumed normal meant harmless. If you haven't checked your numbers in a while, do it. Not tomorrow, not next month, today. And if they're high, don't panic. Take action. You don't have to overhaul your life in one day, but you can start with one meal, one less shake of the salt shaker, one evening walk instead of the recliner, one conversation with your doctor about what's right for you. Walter still writes to me. Last Christmas, he sent a photo of him standing beside his new blood pressure monitor with a grin wide as the Georgia sky. Said it was the best gift his daughter ever made him buy. So if you're sitting there thinking, I feel fine, let Walter's story be your nudge. Because sometimes feeling fine is the very thing that keeps us from catching what's wrong until it's too late. And I'd rather you feel aware, feel responsible, feel alive. Because ignoring your blood pressure doesn't make it go away, it just makes it better at hiding, and that's a game you don't want to play with your kidneys. There was a time when I thought high-protein diets were just a trend. Something folks tried for a few months, before switching back to whatever they were doing before. But then came Gregory. 54 years old, worked in finance, and had recently gotten deep into bodybuilding. His goal was simple. He wanted to feel strong again. Said he was tired of feeling invisible when he looked in the mirror. He had done his research, or so he thought, and decided that loading up on protein shakes, bars, powders, and lean meats was the answer. Every morning, a shake with 2 scoops of whey. Every lunch, grilled chicken with extra egg whites. Dinner, usually more meat, and a protein bar for dessert. To him, that wasn't a diet. That was discipline. But the body has limits, especially kidneys that are already trying to keep up with the demands of midlife, stress, and sometimes silent conditions we don't even know we carry. When Gregory showed up at my clinic, he wasn't there for his kidneys. He was there because he had developed constant fatigue and swelling in his legs. He thought it was overtraining. What it really was, though, was his kidneys waving a white flag. See, when we consume too much protein, especially animal-based protein, it breaks down into nitrogenous waste that the kidneys have to filter out. That's their job. But if they're already under pressure, whether from high blood pressure, diabetes, or even mild dehydration, all that extra work can push them closer to failure. Gregory didn't know he was at risk. He had no symptoms until the damage was already underway. His blood work showed his filtration rate had dropped significantly in just 6 months. His urine had protein in it, a sign that his kidneys were leaking what they should be keeping. It shook him. This wasn't just about protein anymore. It was about losing control of his health at the very moment he thought he was taking it back. We talked long and hard about his goals, about what being strong really meant. Not just physically, but also the kind of strength it takes to pivot, to let go of an image that might be hurting you and embrace a healthier, more sustainable path. With the help of a dietitian, we adjusted his intake. He didn't have to give up protein, but we balanced it. We made space for plant-based options, built in hydration goals, and started monitoring his kidney numbers closely. Within a few months, the decline had stopped. He wasn't bulking up as fast, sure, but he felt better, clearer, lighter in ways that had nothing to do with the scale, and he was grateful. That's the part that always gets me. When people realize that the solution wasn't to try harder, but to try smarter. So if you're listening and thinking about how much protein you're taking in, or if you're chasing a version of yourself that you think will make everything better, pause. Ask your doctor about your kidney function. Get real numbers. Get real guidance. Because health isn't just about looking strong. It's about giving your body a chance to keep carrying you through the life you love. Gregory still works out, still eats well. But now, he's not chasing an ideal. He's protecting a reality. One where his kidneys are part of the plan, not collateral damage. There's something deeply unfair about how we try to be good to ourselves and still end up in trouble. I think about that every time I remember Lorraine. She was 66, retired librarian from Oregon, and probably one of the most disciplined eaters I'd ever met. No red meat, no fried foods. All her snacks were plant-based. She even grew her own kale. But when she came to me for help with fatigue and swelling in her hands, I knew we needed to look deeper than just what she ate. We had to look at how that food was made. See, Lorraine had filled her pantry with what the market calls healthy alternatives. You've seen them. Frozen veggie burgers, plant-based sausages, protein-packed granola bars, vegan cheese spreads. The labels said all the right things. Non-GMO, gluten-free, zero cholesterol. But when we turned those boxes around, we found something very different. Sodium levels through the roof. Chemical additives. Preservatives and artificial flavor enhancers I could barely pronounce. All hidden behind comforting language and clean packaging. The truth is, many of these processed healthy foods are loaded with salt and phosphorus, two things that place tremendous strain on the kidneys. Your kidneys don't care if the sausage is made from soybeans or pork. If it's high in sodium, it's still making their job harder. Lorraine had been trying her best. She wasn't lazy. She wasn't careless. She was busy, like so many of us, and wanted fast solutions that felt responsible. But all those frozen meals, all those individually wrapped bars and bottled green juices had quietly stacked up against her. Her blood pressure had crept up. Her kidneys were starting to leak protein, and she had no idea. We sat together in my office and went through her grocery list. She was shocked by what we found. Some of her favorite so-called healthy snacks had over 600 milligrams of sodium in a single serving. A single frozen plant-based dinner had more than a third of her daily salt limit, and she'd been eating 2 a night. The lesson hit hard. But Lorraine didn't give up. We rebuilt her pantry, Focused on whole foods, fresh fruits, legumes, brown rice, olive oil, nuts. We swapped out the frozen patties for roasted vegetables she could batch cook once a week. She learned to season with herbs instead of relying on sauces. And perhaps most importantly, she started reading every label like it was a contract. Because in a way, it is. What you put in your cart is a promise you make to your body. Within 3 months, her numbers improved. Her energy returned. And that sparkle, the kind only lifelong readers have, was back in her eyes. So if you've been loading your freezer with healthy shortcuts or sipping on superfood juices every morning, I'm not here to shame you. I'm here to help you ask better questions. Turn that package around. Look at the sodium. Check for hidden sugars. If you see phosphorus additives, put it back. Your kidneys deserve better than a promise in bold print. They deserve food that nourishes, not just impresses. Lorraine still emails me recipes. Simple things. Lentil stew with turmeric. Roasted cauliflower tossed in lemon. She tells me cooking is her new therapy. And I tell her every time that she's become the kind of healer she used to help others find in the pages of a good book. I still remember the sparkle in Elaine's eyes when she told me she was doing a kidney cleanse. 62. Retired hairdresser from New Mexico, always looking for the next health trend that promised a glow or boost or some magical reset. She came into my office waving a shiny bottle with gold accents and big words like purify and cleanse your body in 7 days. It sounded hopeful, empowering even, but I felt my chest tighten the moment I read the ingredients. Proprietary blends, no clinical studies. Herbs I knew had caused trouble in more than a few of my patients. Elaine meant well. Like many others, she had watched videos and read blogs that spoke with such confidence, almost like gospel. They promised instant detox, fast energy, younger skin. They said things like, flush your kidneys today, or 1 drink to reset your entire system. And Elaine, like thousands of others, wanted to believe. But here's what no one told her. Your kidneys don't work like a clogged sink. You can't pour a miracle tonic down your throat and expect 30 years of habits to disappear. The kidneys are already detox machines. That's their job. But they need support, not supplements making wild promises without accountability. Elaine had been taking that supplement every day for 2 weeks before she started feeling off. Nausea, fatigue, headaches that wouldn't quit. Her blood work showed signs of stress, elevated creatinine, minor electrolyte imbalances. Nothing catastrophic yet, but enough to make me say, stop now, right now. We got lucky. I've seen others who weren't so fortunate. One man had bought into a 3-week herbal detox challenge that included unregulated diuretics. He landed in the ICU with dangerously low sodium and impaired kidney function. And still, he kept asking, but isn't this supposed to help me? That's the power of hope. It can blind us, even when our bodies are screaming otherwise. If you're considering a cleanse, a detox, a quick fix pause, ask yourself what problem you're actually trying to solve. Because often, the solution isn't in a capsule. It's in your habits. Drink water. Eat fruits rich in antioxidants. Get regular sleep. Manage your blood sugar. Avoid excess salt. Those things, they actually help your kidneys. They don't come with shiny labels or miracle claims, but they work. And more importantly, they don't hurt. Elaine took the message to heart. She tossed the supplements, started cooking more at home, began walking 30 minutes every morning just after sunrise. She now calls it her real detox, a life detox. And the sparkle in her eyes? It came back, but this time, it came from something real. So the next time someone offers you a shortcut to wellness, ask yourself what it might be costing you. Because your kidneys are not looking for quick fixes. They're looking for your patience, your consistency, and above all, your respect. I'll never forget the first time Henry brought me a plastic bag full of leaves. He was 68, former truck driver from Arkansas, polite to a fault, and believed in natural healing more than anyone I'd ever met. When I asked him what medications he was taking, he handed me a typed list neatly stapled together, but then reached into his coat pocket and pulled out that crinkled bag. "I don't count this as medicine," he said. "It's just herbs. My cousin got them from a man who learned from his grandfather. Been using them for years." That sentence stayed with me, because I've heard it too many times, in too many forms. Whether it's tea from a street vendor in Florida, powders bought online from a wellness guru in California, or pills labeled as ancient Eastern formulas, people often believe that natural means safe. But natural can be powerful, and power, when left unchecked, becomes dangerous. I asked Henry if he knew what was in the bag. He smiled, shrugged, and said, "Some kind of root. Tastes like dirt, but I sleep better." What he didn't know was that some roots, especially unregulated ones, contain nephrotoxic compounds. That means they're directly harmful to the kidneys. And if you already have a little damage, even from something mild like blood pressure or age-related wear and tear, those herbs can push you right over the edge. Henry had been feeling more tired lately, peeing less. His appetite had dipped. We ran labs, and sure enough, his kidney function had dropped dramatically in just 6 months. When we traced back through his habits, nothing had changed except the introduction of that tea. It broke my heart to tell him. He had tried to help himself. He wasn't reckless. He was just misinformed. And nobody had taken the time to explain that supplements, even the ones wrapped in earthy packaging or handed to you with stories, can interact with medications, stress the kidneys, and cause more harm than good. He stopped the herbs immediately, and thankfully, his function stabilized. But the trust? That took longer. Henry had trusted nature, and in many ways, I understood why. In a world full of synthetic pills and rushed doctor visits, it's comforting to believe in something rooted in tradition. But tradition without transparency is a risk. So here's what I want you to remember. Every time you put something in your body, whether it's a prescription, a powder, or a potion, you're making a choice. And the best choices are informed ones. Talk to your doctor, not just about your prescriptions, but about everything you take. Your teas, your vitamins, your oils. Bring the bottles in if you have to. Don't guess. Don't assume. Because what soothes one person might stress another. Henry still comes in for checkups. He switched to chamomile tea, keeps a garden now, and jokes that he's a little more Western these days, but still sweet tea at heart. And I love that, because it shows you can hold on to who you are, while also protecting what keeps you here, your health, your organs, your life. So the next time someone offers you something that worked wonders for them, pause. Not everything passed down is meant to be passed on, especially if it puts your kidneys in danger. By now, you might be wondering how something as small as a protein bar, a bottle of herbal tea, or a couple of pain pills could lead to something as serious as kidney failure. And I get it. It doesn't feel fair. Most of us were never taught to think about our kidneys unless something went wrong. We know about the heart. We know to check our blood sugar. But the kidneys? They're the quiet workers. They don't complain. They don't ache like a sore back or throb like a bad knee. They just keep filtering, balancing, regulating until the damage is done. And the silence becomes a scream. I've seen that scream more times than I care to count. I've seen it in patients who walked in thinking they were healthy and left with a referral for dialysis. I've seen it in daughters who had to learn how to help their fathers manage meal plans and fluid restrictions. I've seen it in husbands sitting by their wives' sides during transplant evaluations, wondering how they missed the signs. And the truth is, most of the time, it wasn't one big mistake. It was a handful of little ones, repeated every day, for years. That's what makes these habits so dangerous. They don't knock. They don't announce themselves. They just become part of your rhythm until that rhythm is no longer sustainable. But here's the part that gives me hope. Once you know better, you can do better. You can look at your medicine cabinet and ask questions. You can check the sodium on that healthy, frozen dinner. You can sip water mindfully instead of chugging it thoughtlessly. You can pause before jumping into the next cleanse or miracle routine, and instead ask, is this right for me, or is it just right for someone else? You can slow down, and in that stillness, you give your kidneys a chance to breathe, a chance to recover, a chance to keep going quietly, faithfully, just as they were designed to do. I don't say any of this to scare you. I say it because I've sat across from too many people who wish they had paid attention sooner. People like Barbara, Marcus, Lorraine, Gregory, Elaine, and Henry. They didn't start out careless. They started out just like you, trying to do their best with the information they had. And when they learned more, they chose differently. You can too. No matter your age, your background, your health history, it's not too late. Your kidneys might be whispering now, a little swelling, a bit of fatigue, maybe a blood test that's just slightly off. Don't wait until they start shouting. And if they already are, know this: there's still power in awareness. There's still healing in habit. The road back might be long, but it's walkable, and I'll walk it with you. Because taking care of your kidneys isn't about being perfect. It's about being present, about showing up for yourself in the small ways that add up over time. So take a breath, take a look at your routine, and ask yourself, which habits are serving you and which ones are quietly stealing your strength? Then take that first step and know you're not alone.